Welcome back. So we have ranged attackers, we have melee attackers, things are looking pretty good, but there's another kind of attacker that I'd like in our project, and that is a spellcasting attacker. And it just so happens that in our assets, if we go to enemies and shaman, we can open this skeletal mesh for the shaman. And it has a nice staff and everything. So this is perfect for a magic casting attacker. So for this section, we're going to set up a Goblin Shaman. Now this is going to involve a number of steps, and we're going to get to reuse some of the work that we've already done. So let's take this step by step as we create our new type of enemy, and this will be the Goblin Shaman. It's not going to be a warrior, it's not going to be a ranger, it's going to be an elementalist, much like Aura. So, without further ado, let's make our new enemy type. We're going to go into Blueprints and Character, where we have our Goblin Spear, our Goblin Slingshot, and our Ghoul. We're going to make a new folder for the Shaman. And of course, we're going to use our BP enemy base. So I'm going to right click on it, create a child blueprint class, and call this BP underscore shaman. And I'll move it into the shaman folder, move here. And we need an animation blueprint. So we're going to right click, we're going to make a child anim blueprint with skeleton, and we're going to choose SK shaman, create child. Call this ABP underscore shaman and move this into the shaman folder with our blueprint. Okay, so we have a number of things that we do when we create a new character blueprint. We're going to double click on it and open it up. And first of all, select our mesh. So for the skeletal mesh asset, we're going to choose shaman. Now, it's quite small, so we're going to want to adjust that capsule size. And in fact, we might just get away with taking our capsule and reducing its half height a bit and just bringing that shaman down. And I think that's going to just about do it. We're definitely going to want to rotate the shaman forward, like so. And we basically have a shaman. So that's looking pretty good. Now, it does have a weapon. We're going to select the skeletal mesh. That's going to be the Shaman Staff skeletal mesh. And notice that it's actually right there in the center. So how did we get our spear to behave for our spear goblin? Well, let's go take a look. Goblin spear. Let's open it up. Here's the viewport. And we'll notice that it's just in the hand, and that's looking like it should, right? Well, we're not doing anything in the construction script. So how are we attaching that weapon? Well, I'm going to pull up Writer. I'm going to close all my tabs and open up my private folder, character, and let's just see what we're doing in Aura character base for our weapon. Looks like we're attaching it, and we're calling setup attachment with weapon hand socket. So we're attaching to the mesh to that socket. We're going to need to make sure our shaman has that socket. So let's go to our shaman skeletal mesh, go to its skeleton tree, and see if we can find that hand, and it's going to be in that left hand, it looks like. And here's hand L, and here's a left hand socket. This needs to be actually weapon hand socket. So let's change that to weapon hand socket and save that. And back in BP Shaman, we see that that staff is now connected to the hand socket. So that's how it should look. Okay, so that's looking great. We now need to set up our animation blueprint. So back to content, blueprints, character, and shaman. Let's go to ABP Shaman and make sure we have this all set up. Now, if we go to Asset Override and extend everything, we need a blend space player. We don't have one. So we're going to create one. We see that we have Shaman Idle and Walk. I'm going to double click on Shaman Idle and browse to that asset so we can make our blend space. I'm going to go ahead and make it here. By the way, this is what the Idle looks like, and the Walk is this kind of shuffling walk here. So we're going to have a slow moving old Goblin Shaman. let's go ahead and make that blend space. So we'll right click, go to animation and blend space and select our shaman skeleton. We're going to call this BS underscore idle walk. We're going to open that up. And here in idle walk, we're going to bring in our idle animation. I'm going to hold shift so it snaps to the beginning. And we're not going to move that fast. So I think I'm going to take my horizontal axis, which I'm going to name speed. I'm going to put that maximum axis value at something low, perhaps 75-ish. We might change it, but we're going to put that to 75 and stick the walk right there at the end of it, and we can see that walk. And just like we did with our other blend spaces, I'm going to take my weight speed and set that to a value of 4, and we'll tweak that if we need to. But now we have our idle walk blend space. We can come back into our shaman animation blueprint, select it, and hit compile, and we see that our shaman is idling. And if we go back to our BP shaman, we can select our mesh and choose an anim class, choosing ABP shaman, and our shaman is idling here as well. So that's going to be our basic setup. It looks like everything's looking pretty good. We have a number of things to take care of in relation to combat, but as far as our shaman class, we have it all set up. Now, speaking of class, if I go to BP Shaman Self and I search for character class defaults, we have this character class. We want our character class for the shaman not set to warrior, but elementalist. And that way, our shaman is going to be initialized using the attribute values and the gameplay abilities appropriate for the elementalist enemy type. And that's something we set in one of our data assets, isn't it? So now that we have a Goblin Shaman, it's time to go through all the steps to make this shaman work for our game. And that's going to be what this section is all about. So excellent job. We now have a Goblin Shaman. I'm going to save all, and I'll see you in the next video.